This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
This is your We Need a Hoops Protocol Intervention Leader Fan Radio Network.
Tweet that.
And KFAN.com. 1 minute, 58 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central. Daylight saving time. I looked it up on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I host the program. Former Inkstain Wretch, newspaper of the Twin Cities. Dan Barreiro is my name. Justin Gard, we affectionately refer to him as Guardsy, is also in on the festivities today and pretty much every day when he doesn't have one of his other 5 or 6 job duties. But this time of year, no other real job duties, correct?
For now.
What's that mean?
Nothing.
Is there an announcement coming?
No, unfortunately, no.
Oh, I thought there might be something.
Thought there might be, but
something
no.
Momentous, but
yeah.
Didn't work out that way.
Didn't work out.
Well,
but I'm happy to be here.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Prayers. Yeah.
It's good to have you here as always, and it's good to have the vast listening audience with us as well. We will remind you that today is a very busy day on the show. Kessler in studio at 5:30. A lot of discussion. I think we're at the 100-day mark of the second Trump presidential administration.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to figure it out. 100 days in. Johnny Athletic will join sometime in the 4 o'clock hour from sunny Los Angeles, California. I'm surprised he went back.
I know.
On the basis of how he was trashing the place last time. Or apparently he feels duty calls, so he will be in Los Angeles for, can't call it pivotal, Game 5. Wolves are up 3-1. It has to be 2-2 pivotal. So regardless, he will be there maybe as the Wolves go in for the kill tonight on national TV in Los Angeles, California. Johnny sometime in the 4. And at the bottom of this hour, your guy Wes Walz will join to review what I predicted would be a Minnesota Wild victory in the pivotal Game 5 in Vegas. And I felt so good in the last minute and change.
How could you not?
Like, I'm going to be a hero. They're going to do it. They're going to pull this thing off in regulation. And then guess what happened? Job by the officials. Well, actually, I think in this case, even most whiny Minnesota fans like you have acknowledged that the right call was made.
They got the call right.
However, I'm sure there's some are saying, well, that call could be made 10 times a game, and it's not. Why do they do it when it hurts us?
Well, the offsides thing, they should factor in intent or something. I just like saying that. There's some.
Did it have any real impact on the play?
Exactly. It should have a real impact on the play.
And it didn't.
And it didn't have to. And
what made it crueler was we won the first challenge.
I know.
Only in Minnesota do you have to withstand 2 challenges on the same goal. The same potentially game-winning, series-changing goal.
I know. That's our lot in life. That's why we are
should feel sorry for
the way that we are.
Yeah.
But we got the LeBron call on Sunday.
You did. Big one.
We've got that in our back pocket.
Absolutely big one indeed. Basketball protocol. We have 2 stories that have come to my attention over the course of the last 24 hours or so. One of them, local. The other has kind of gone national/international. Let's start with the national/international one. Stunning. Come from behind victory by the Indiana Pacers last night in Indianapolis, Indiana. That was the game. Speaking of Game 5s, they're playing their Game 5 at home. They think they're going to put the Bucks out of their misery, right? Dame is long gone.
Yep.
Bucks are overmatched. But the Bucks played their butts off last night and were in position to win. In fact, they led by 7 points with 40 seconds to go and became the first playoff team in 20 years to not hold on to that lead. I think the record was 0 and 1,162 until last night over the course of the last 20 years if you led by 7 points with 40 seconds to go or fewer seconds to go in the game. A devastating loss without any question for the Bucks. After the game, I'm still stunned by it. I'm absolutely still gobsmacked by it, but I don't know that I should be anymore. The Pacers are celebrating on the court. And one fan in particular decides, not only am I going to celebrate my team coming from behind to eliminate the Bucks, I am going to taunt one of the best, classiest players in all of the land, Giannis. I'm going to walk towards him on the court with my silly little, what do you call it, a Homer hanky?
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Towel,
it was a towel, whatever it was. And holding, and by the way, apparently offering, at least according to Giannis, Effenheimers, basically to say, what? This is our bleeping house, or bleep you, this is what we do, whatever the case may be. And Giannis finds out later, didn't know it right away, that the individual, the jackass who did all this, is the father of, well, you could say the player who won the series, right? Tyrese Halliburton. He was tremendous down the stretch.
Yep. Great
dunk when they needed 2 points. Great drive to the basket for a layup. Deadly outside shooter, but in this case, going to the hoop. And I'm actually glad this moment happened, because I do think it will be an opportunity for all of us who watched in horror in a situation that could have ended up being a lot worse, potentially even dangerous. Who is the Bucks, kind of the enforcer of the Milwaukee Bucks?
The enforcer?
Semi-enforcer. He'd missed a bunch of games because
Portis.
Can you imagine how different the scene might have been?
Yes.
If the same person, the same jackass, and it shouldn't matter whether he's a father of a player or a fan, whatever the case may be, would have approached Bobby Portis the same way?
He's got a little more edge than Giannis.
The incident might not be over today, right now.
Right.
They still may have to be clearing out the arena. But it is a reminder that is long overdue. We've seen us head closer and closer in this direction, and it is a protocol issue. Closed circuit to mom, dad, uncle, cousin, wife, husband. It's not about you. Get over yourself. It is not, at that moment, about you in any way, shape, or form. It's just not. Now, you may enjoy it because you presumably love the person that you're related to or married to, whatever the case may be, but it ain't about you. And I do think more and more teams have had difficulty expressing that, sort of reinforcing that border, because they're afraid of hangers-on, because players have people they're close to or people they want to have around them. And if they're star players, they don't want to offend them, right? So they give them more carte blanche than they should. The rule, as far as I'm concerned, should be hard and fast on this. And I'm hoping, well, David Stern's not alive, unfortunately. He's not still the commissioner. The directive, there should be a directive coming out on this. And maybe it doesn't have to be public. Maybe it's enough to go private. But it should be a reminder in every arena, including Target Center, because we may celebrate a first round. And by the way, this is another thing. It was the first round. It's a great comeback. It's a great story. You're not celebrating an NBA title, Dad.
Against an undermanned Milwaukee Bucks team.
It's like, honest to God, but they start feeling, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Coach Barreiro went on a terrific run to the state championship game, big class, high school girls basketball, Illinois.
I think I'm still paying a monthly subscription to the streaming service.
I think I might be too.
That we picked up for that.
That'll be true.
But anyway,
here's the deal. All along, as they're winning and advancing, I was afraid to walk out onto the court of a high school court where there is no security. Nobody was really going to stop me because same way it's like, well, no, I'll hug her later. I get parents are proud of their kid. They should be. But get over yourself at that moment. It is not about you, shouldn't be about you, and every team should be sending out that directive to relatives of every player. And look, most relatives, I think, still are smart enough to know it, but I sense we are getting, I'm not surprised because I do think there's this fear, but I don't want to offend star player. And if they've got 8 people in the entourage, I don't want to get in the way of that. Last thing we need to do is have him start getting irked about how he's treated, and then the next thing you know, 5 steps later, he's asking to be traded, right? But that's what needs to happen. And the brazen nature of what this clown did, he's apologized, but he had what choice did he have at this point, quite frankly?
Right.
Just an absolutely, we need a come-to-Jesus meeting, again, an intervention, reevaluation of this whole process, and regardless of the level, professional, college, high school, little league, toddler, it's not about you. At the moment of truth, on the court, on the ice, on the field, it should not be about you. Get over yourselves. That, to me, is the story. And my guess is he felt perfectly comfortable because he felt, well, whose father am I?
Right.
You're not going to mess with me. I do this all the time. I'm on the court all the time. Shouldn't be on the court all the time. Sorry, the rule should be you're not on the court if you're a relative. You may have great seats, but that should not give you carte blanche at that point in that situation. And again, Giannis handled it beautifully post-game.
Per usual.
I retweeted it was like 3 or 4 minute comments. Per usual is exactly right. He couldn't have handled it better under the circumstances. He is so thoughtful on this stuff. But he shouldn't have had to be subjected to that. And again, if it's try that on Draymond.
Right.
How do you think that would go? Guy might be dead. And I wouldn't endorse that, but I'd say, well, be careful. Be careful what you're involved in.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. You can enter the keyword happy at KFAN.com. That's your first shot at winning today. KFAN.com.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Keyword happy.
Charles Barkley was on Dan Patrick this morning, writes 612 guy, saying that if Tyrese's dad had done that to him after a game like that, he would have punched him. Now, we don't endorse violence in the Bumper to Bumper show, but maybe that's what needs to happen, in all seriousness. The problem is it can turn into a riot, and then you got a problem.
Yep.
And you really have a chance to get people hurt. Are you familiar? There was a very gritty defensive player who played for the Baltimore Colts back in the day, late 60s, early 70s, by the name of Mike Curtis. And there's viral video, you can find it this minute online, of an occasion when a fan decides to run onto the field. And ordinarily what players do is they just either try to get away or they let security take care of it. Mike Curtis blindsided him with a hit that could have killed him, probably. But there were a lot of people going, good. That's what you get going out on the field. So I don't know what the answer is. I just know it was an embarrassing moment. And sadly for the Pacers, probably an underrated club that has had a pretty nice run. Didn't they get to the conference finals last year? I think they did.
I think they did. They won the NBA Cup the same year. So Halliburton's a nice player.
That should be the story.
You found
a way you made history in a way that has not been done in the last 20 years of playoff games. And that's a bunch of games coming back from that kind of deficit. But this is the story, and it's kind of what you deserve. The other basketball etiquette story is closer to home. I know there was some discussion about it yesterday. Our station, Fox 9, did a piece on it. I don't know if anybody else has either, but it's one of those stories that everybody's going to relate to, even if, in all honesty, it probably shouldn't be the end of the world.
Right.
It's basically a neighbor dispute.
Yep.
And in this case, a homeowner is suing a neighbor and the city of St. Louis Park over the installation of a basketball hoop, right? The other family moved in a while ago, put the hoop in, and then apparently the other family on the other side of the hoop said, "You're 6 inches too close to my property line." So they said, okay. They petitioned the city, as I understand it. They moved it. But that apparently isn't enough for this other couple, family. I don't know who lives in the other place. I don't think they've been willing to speak. So now they've decided we're going to start a lawsuit over the whole thing. I don't like. I'm not a great good legal mind on this kind of story, but I will say that unless they hire Chris Maddle, I'm not sure they have much, because he can win any case. I'm convinced there is no case he can't win. But if they haven't hired him, then I'm not sure they're going to have much of a chance. But when we're talking about protocol, you may not love having a court next to you because there's probably going to be noise.
Yep.
The ball is going to be dribbled.
It's going to get in your
Kids
yard.
The ball's going to, because that's the other thing they're saying. Well, the ball, it goes into our yard and you're grabbing it. That's trespassing. Come on, man.
I know.
In all seriousness.
Yeah.
So we have, in this case, another, I think, protocol intervention needed where I don't know if there's like a negotiator who might be able to reason with the other family or person or persons. I'm not sure. But it's a far cry from, I think, what most of us, at least once upon a time, grew up around, which was there were basketball hoops all over the neighborhood.
Yes.
And again, I'll admit, if it's constant, I could see where it'd be, oh, God, there we go again, another game. But I don't think that you should be able to do anything about it. I think, again, proper etiquette is you got to accept that possibility that they're not doing anything illegal. They're playing basketball. It doesn't sound like there's any charge that like 40 kids were congregating or anything like that where a party was breaking out.
Right.
So, again, this is the kind of story that wouldn't be a story 25, 30 years ago. And it's not worth, I don't think, trying to send the other family to prison over it. It's a neighborhood dispute. These things happen historically all the time, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for really crappy reasons, right? And whether there's a hidden reason here that we don't know about, I'm not sure. But protocol, I think, would say, etiquette would say, they move the hoop, they follow the law, and we may not love that there's somebody next door that has hoops out there, but not much. We're just going to have to grin and bear it.
With that story, my approach is, it doesn't really sound like you want neighbors at all.
Yes, that's true.
And if you don't want neighbors, don't have neighbors.
Yeah.
Go move out 40 miles away where you don't have to have neighbors.
Maybe they can't afford that.
It's cheaper out there usually.
Well, it can be, yeah.
But that's what, if you're going to live in a neighborhood, odds are you're going to have neighbors.
Well, a couple people are saying that the couple suing their attorneys themselves. So
interesting.
Which is interesting. I don't know if they think they got something. But yeah, I'm with you. You can't. You sort of.
And
shake
now it's
your
just
head.
created like a hostile situation where the kid probably feels guilty for going out and shooting because he or she is getting crap for it every time that it happens.
And terrified when the ball goes across the lawn.
Right. It's like Sandlot.
And you got to oh my God, is somebody looking? What are we going to do?
Right.
And what's the next step?
What do we do? I know.
Have we seen? I didn't see the TV report on this. In there, do we get a sense of like the neighborhood or like how close the houses are or whether the basket is like right next to the door of the next door neighbor? Do we have any sense of proximity in that regard?
I really don't, except the one picture I saw, it looks like, I don't know. It looks like it's a neighborhood. It's close. It's St. Louis Park, right?
Yeah,
a lot of these first-rung suburbs, houses are packed in there, right?
Correct.
You're not talking about every house isn't nestled on 5 acres. You're jamming them in there, so you're going to be close.
And presumably, that's part of the reason maybe you don't have to spend as much as you would if in a palatial, a much bigger lot kind of a situation, right? Could they build a wall? Is there room to build a high wall that might also soundproof, create a soundproofing situation between the two homes?
Well, I think the solution, I tweeted this out yesterday. We didn't have this problem.
You already said the solution. The solution is for the other couple to move.
Yeah, just don't have neighbors.
Yeah.
If you don't want neighbors, don't have neighbors. We need just to GoFundMe and let the family with the basketball hoop, with the kid that wants to shoot, just build them an indoor gym. Just put a nice addition on their house. Do like a little GoFundMe. See if we can get like $100,000, and then everybody's okay. Because that was the solution in Edina growing up. We never had that problem because all of our courts were just inside. Makes it a lot easier.
You had to do it.
I had to. It's fun.
You're right. It's the right joke to play because if you hadn't, somebody was going to do it for you.
We actually
you might as well get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Well, a couple people are texting saying, here's what's sad about this. Where did it go? They're mentioning, I don't have the area code here, but basically that my sister-in-law and her family have a hoop in the driveway. They have an open door policy where any kid in the neighborhood can go shoot at it whenever they want to.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Now, I don't know. Maybe there's in 2025 litigation you got to worry about. If somebody breaks a leg on your property.
Right.
But in spirit,
yes,
I think that's what you're looking for. Like, hey, this is kind of cool.
Totally.
Kids are out. We whine and complain about kids not being outside.
Yes.
They're playing a little basketball, a little pickup basketball, or they're playing horse. Aren't those really sweet sounds? Aren't those actually healthy sounds that we should be nurturing and encouraging?
I stared out our window over the weekend or a week or so ago, and we had like 7 kids just shooting baskets in the driveway.
Yeah.
I said, these are the good old days right here. These are the good old days. Because our neighborhood's got that policy. It's like trampoline down here, basketball hoop over here.
Open door.
Swing set.
Right.
Just come over. As long as your parents know you're here.
Yeah.
Come on over whenever you want.
Oh, you might need Maddle because sooner or later, if somebody gets hurt, you have to. That's the one concern, I guess.
Well,
it's a litigious culture in which we live.
Every parent, we all kind of know who the troublemakers are. we all know who's going to cause the issues of our own children and of other children, so it all works out.
That makes sense. All right, let's talk hockey. A very disappointing finish in the pivotal Game 5, meaning your Minnesota Wild have no remaining margin for error. They must win Game 6. And if they want to advance, they'll have to go back to Vegas and win Game 7. Let's get the reaction from one of our favorite hockey insiders. Wes Walz will be joining us in just a couple minutes. If you have questions for him, Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is 64686. And we're going to start with the obvious question. How does any would-be goal scorer get that wide open with the game on the line? I'm confounded by that. I still don't understand it. Maybe he
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
can explain it for us. That's
Yeah,
exactly. That's kind of what we said after the game.
That was a short soundbite.
I don't know why that one played.
Well,
Hang on, you ready?
Was that Heinze?
Here's John Hines.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought we battled hard tonight. I mean, it was a tight game. It's, it's all about moving on to Game 6 now.
Wow. Another get in and get out. Didn't go well at the end, as most of you know by now, in overtime for your Minnesota Wild. They now find themselves coming back home down 3-2. Wes Walz kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. And you'll be happy to know that the questions via the text line have poured in since I mentioned you're going to be on and asked if folks had stuff they wanted to run by you. We'll try to mix and match with some of those. But I do want to start with the question I mentioned just before the break. I get it. There's broken plays in hockey, like every sport. But it felt wrong how wide open the winning goal scorer was in that situation. So explain to me, hockey guy, how that happens.
Well, it's not the easiest thing, on the radio to try to go through every dynamic. I will say this, Dan, I've watched it back probably about 15 times, and my day's been pretty interesting because of that goal against. I went to Jerry's earlier to pick up some chicken, and I got cornered a couple times at Jerry's. And then I picked up my son at Eastridge about a half hour ago, and he's talking to me about Johnny Merrill and how could he possibly let that guy be wide open? So everybody's an expert,
right?
But the play itself, the way the Minnesota Wild defend in their own zone, they play man-on-man defensively. A little different. Well, not a little different, actually, a lot different than the Vegas Golden Knights. So every team defends situations a little bit different. And the puck was below the goal line to start, and one of the Vegas Golden Knights forwards, one of the three, rolled out of there and went up to the top of the zone when the puck went around the zone. And Merrill was the first guy out of the pile, so his responsibility is number 55, Kolesar, at the top of the zone.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that Johnny Merrill goes out to the blue line and stands beside number 55, Kolesar. You guys got to know he's up there, and you got to kind of play halfway in between in case there's a breakdown. So actually, during that goal, Dan, I actually thought Johnny Merrill was probably, out of everybody involved, I thought Johnny Merrill was probably the least involved in that actual scoring chance. It just looked bad because he was kind of collapsing down a little bit late, and he was right on top of the goal scorer. But the puck got rotated back down below the goal line, and unfortunately for Zach Bogosian, it just popped over top of his stick.
Yeah.
And he had a chance to squash that play right there. If maybe he uses his skate instead of his stick, that play is dead right there. He picks up that loose puck, and he makes a little 15-foot pass out front, and we're out of the zone. The play's over, and we're not having this conversation. But the puck did bounce over a stick, and yes, it's a hockey play. Things like that happen. Now, the next level degree is what needs to happen. Right when that puck bounces over his stick, alarm bells need to go off. Everybody on the ice that's defending, alarm bells got to go off. It's overtime. We're playing in big games, big state games. The puck went to Tanner Pearson down low, and Marco Rossi was, at that point, Dan, he was probably 7 or 8 feet away from Pearson, the guy that made the pass out front. He could have I would have loved for him to either try to read it really quickly and jump the play as quick as he could to get a stick on it to try to squash it if he could, or he could have taken some ice back to the middle and kind of rotated more to the middle to kind of be in the lane to try to buy some time. And he did neither for me. He kind of was in the wrong position, only by about 5, 7, 8 feet.
Yeah.
And that's what allowed enough room to get that pass out front to Brett Howden. And a lot of the experts I've heard talking about breaking down this goal, one guy that they have not brought up is Jakob Trenyan. He's the winger out on the far side of the ice, Stan. Once he realizes that puck bounced over Zach Bogosian's stick, he has to race down to the front of the net as fast as he can and leave your defenseman wide open. You've got to be able to help out, and he didn't collapse quickly enough. And so there were so many different things that went on in that situation. Honestly, I'd need a 5-minute
this is good.
thing to break it down, but I hope that kind of breaks it down a little bit for everybody.
It absolutely, I think, hardcore hockey fan can relate to it. Casual hockey fan gets some sense of it as well, that in the end, you think it's kind of a shared deal, but it's one of those things where, I think you're kind of saying everything went wrong, and the result, unfortunately, is the goal that ends the game. Now, the other subject that I'm sure you've heard a lot about, I want to address here early with you too. There's via Twitter, there's somebody named NHL Commentary, or at least that's the Twitter handle. If you think I'm negative, try every day. This guy's got something he's PO'd about. So here's what he writes after I laid out, you were on the guest lineup today. So Dan and Wes can talk about Hines' terrible coaching decisions and how he is responsible for the loss last night. No other coach in the league would be so foolish as to play their fourth line with their third pairing in a playoff overtime. Bogosian failed miserably, but it's on Hines. You want to vehemently disagree with NHL Commentary Guy? Do you want to nuance it out? What do you think?
Well, I normally don't opine to people on experts on social media.
Yes,
it looks like I have no choice, Dan.
Well, I figured you could answer it because whether it's him or other people, that has come up. You know, there are other people who have come up.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And there's I guess there's some validity to it for sure. But I will say this, like, you know, you got to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously some of the other guys, they maybe Boldy, Kaprizov, some of the other guys were gassed. You've got to get other guys out on the ice to try to relieve some of the pressure from some of the other players. The one thing I will say is this: defensively, Marco Rossi, Trenyan, and Brazeau have not, up until that point, Dan, had not been on the ice for a 5-on-5 goal against. Okay, that plays into my decision if I'm John Hines. Okay, I'm just putting my hat on here, and you just kind of threw this at me, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to think about or react. But just off the top of my head, putting my ball cap on, coaching hat on, that's the first thing that would come to my mind. Now, if they're -3 or -4, like the Minnesota Wild fourth line 2 years ago with Reeves, Duhaime, and Dewar, where they're -6 in 5 games and never had a point, then I might not put them on the ice. But because they had not been out there for a goal, you think maybe I can squeeze 30, 40 seconds out against them, against the other team's fourth line. It's a calculated risk, and obviously everybody can second guess it, but it is what it is.
So we were talking about this earlier, the cruelty of the goal that was taken away. You know, that you survive one challenge, and whether the puck was kicked in or not, you survive that one. And then but you have to endure. Only Minnesota feels like we got to endure a second one, and the offside call looked to me like it was the proper call. What did you see?
I saw the same thing, Dan. I saw the same thing. It was the proper call, and obviously the league. Under 2 minutes, they looked at the first one. And, obviously we knew it was not going to be called a kicking motion because the puck, I believe, went off his shin pad, hurt Hartman or his breezers or whatever. But I really did not have any clue that the play at the blue line was close at all. And then I saw it just like everybody else saw it, clearly offside. And I've heard different people talking about the NHL's got to change the rule, and if Nyquist is not involved with the play, there was no intent. That should be allowed to. It should be allowed to count. I couldn't disagree with that more. Listen, Dan, we put that rule in for a reason. If it's offside, it's offside. The goal doesn't count. And obviously, Wild fans are mad. I'm disappointed. I'm bummed out too. NHL coaches, high school coaches, I've coached for a long time too. We stop practice if you go offside. Like, we stop practice. Do it again. Can't go offside. Everybody back out to the neutral zone. Let's go. Can't go offside. Just got to stay onside. That's it. That's the bottom line at the end of the day. You got to stay onside. And listen, if it went the other way and Vegas had a goal called back because of the same situation, it was the best rule that ever came in, ever, and they brought it in a few years ago for this exact reason. So, listen, I'm as bummed out and sad and mad and cranky and as tired as everybody else is about that play, but it is what it is, and we got to move on.
There is a lot. There's a lot of frustration, and that's because people are invested, right? That's better that than they are, complacent or apathetic and bored with it. I'll give you another example. Explain to me why a player with 850 games plus of NHL game experience does not have the presence of mind to avoid the offside by simply trailing his trail skate to be certain he is onside. Am I missing something? Is it that easy?
Everything happens so fast, Dan. It's easy to second guess, but at that point, maybe Nyquist didn't think it was that big of a deal. It wasn't like I can promise you, Dan, if Ryan Hartman was going in on a breakaway, he would have stayed onside, right? He still had Pietrangelo in front of him, he didn't expect Ryan Hartman to blow by Petro like he was tied to a pole and then able to cut into the net. I mean, you just don't see that, in small role, but. The bottom line is, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, whether it's one game or 850 there, you've got to do everything you can. Even if it slows up your ability to get to the front of the net a quarter of a second,
That's the
you had a
responsibility.
pretty good outnumbered situation. You got to stay on side there.
You know, one of the, I think, most devastating aspects to the loss is when the goaltending change was made, Gus Bus sick. The word is from Russo is that he will be ready to go for game number 6, whatever the bug was that sidelined him in the third period. I thought the Wild did such a great job of letting Flower ease into the game. I mean, I'm not even sure Vegas had a shot on goal for like 10 or 15 minutes or at least 10 minutes of the period. And it seemed like there was a conscious effort to say, all right, it's a tough spot, even to put a Hall of Famer in, right? So let's try to make his life as easy as we can to let him kind of ease into working up a lather. They did such a great job of that, had the better of the play, but of course, you got to score.
Yeah. No, listen. I thought the third period the Wild played was their best period. They had a lot of pushback in the third period. Only gave up, 3 shots. And I know it was like 13 and a half minutes before they got their first shot. And listen, man, it wasn't like the Vegas Golden Knights didn't have any scoring opportunities. I can show you, and we'll probably end up showing it tomorrow defensively. Brock Faber made 2 unbelievable plays defensively that didn't count as shots against, where Marc-Andre was diving around the zone trying to keep the puck out of their net. So it's not like he just sat on a rocking chair for 10, 15 minutes. So let's not be fooled by that. And actually, to be honest with you, I bet you anything, if you asked Marc-Andre, he would have loved to have felt the puck a little bit more at the very beginning. That is not, he's been around a long time, and, goaltenders usually like to feel the puck, and, most of those guys like to feel it right in their belly just a little bit, just to get a feel. So that's not easy for an old goalie or a young goalie to jump in that situation. But it wasn't like he just sat back. But listen, the Wild did defend very, very well. And as we talked about earlier, just we're in a fight, man. We're in a fight, and we're standing toe to toe with one of the better teams in the league. And obviously, the fact that we had a chance to get up 3-2 and lost these last couple games in overtime is obviously very disappointing. But that does not necessarily mean you can't win a series. I was thinking earlier, and maybe Guardsy can check this. I think even in 2003 when we were playing in Vancouver, I know we lost 1 game for sure in overtime. We may have lost 2 in overtime in that series and ended up beating Vancouver. So it's not like it can't be done, but obviously winning one of those 2 games would have been gigantic.
Huge. Well, it's, you speak to, I said it's unfair to this team, but I think the equity of this team the last, 5 to 10 years is what it is. And it may be unfair to these current players, but I think a lot of people just say, well, I'm not going to believe it until I see it. So that's the key to this, right? How do you break through? There have been close calls before. Maybe you feel like, compared to some of the other first-round exits, they feel that you feel this team is playing better, more competitive, and don't seem as overmatched. But whatever it is, you got to make the play that tilts it, right? Sooner or later, if you're ever going to get out of the first round. So what's the key to keeping that thought mentally for a player?
Well, it's something that's going to be a talker, obviously, until the Wild break through and get to the second round, whether it's fair or not. And, listen, I'm a Wild fan too now, Dan. I've lived here since 2000. That's 25 years. That's almost half of my life. So I'm feeling what everybody else feels too. And I understand the angst of the Wild fans. There's no question about that. But listen, at the end of the day, you've got to get the job done. And I have to be perfectly honest. When you compare this series to the Dallas series and the St. Louis series, when we lost those games, those series in 6, Dan, we had, I believe, 1 or 2 clunkers, like in each series,
right.
In each series, where you can't win playoff series with clunkers. You just can't. And below average goaltending and the penalty kill that was awful. You have no chance to win. This has been different. Like, the Wild have not stunk in any of the games. They're playing hard every night. And it's incredible to me right now, just looking at the numbers. You come into game 1 and you're talking about the beginning of the series and what needs to happen to win. The Minnesota Wild have to get better goaltending. Everybody understands that. They have got that through 5 games. 919 save percentage to 854. You got to stop Eichel and Dorofeev, and you got to stop Mark Stone. They've done that. They've got 2 goals in 5 games. They've done everything that they've needed to do at the top of the list. Able to make that big play when it matters most, and it's unfortunate, Dan, and I wish I had a better answer for you, but again, like I said, there's 2 games left, and I will say this, Dan. If the Vegas Golden Knights goaltender save percentage right now was Jake Allen-like from about 10 years ago when St. Louis beat us in 6, I think he had a 95 save percentage or something like that. I would say this series is close to being over. The way Aiden Hill's playing right now, Dan, this series is not over. I'm just telling you right now, the way he looks in net, he has not looked particularly sharp at any point in this series. There hasn't been a flash for a half a game where I'm like, oh, look, he's dialed in. And I can promise you, the Wild players are feeding on that. They're feeding on. They know there's blood in the water. I'm telling you. Again, we're playing a great team. We all know that, but in my opinion.
Wes Walz joining us on the Fan, giving his view of what took place last night. Actually, really the last 2 games, as he mentions. We may look back on those are the ones where it got away, but it ain't over yet. As he says, there's still an opportunity to make this very interesting and maybe even ultimately steal it. Where are you on the decision to play Zeev early in the series and then the decision to go away from him? Where were you on all that discussion? Because he became, as you probably know, very quickly a lightning rod figure. I mean, I had Zeev terrorists bitter when the Wild didn't play him the last regular season game. And it's like, we want to see him. I want to see him right now. I can't wait. He's unbelievable. And then, of course, some plays went against him, and it's like, well, what are we doing playing this guy? It was almost like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. What's your view on that? Him being in, was it too much to expect too soon? Did it make sense? And if so, then why do you go away from it?
I agreed with John Hines' decision not to play him in the last game, the biggest game of the season the Wild had to have at home.
Yep.
And I completely agree with the situation to play him in game 1, like John Hines did, and played him the first 4 games of the series. You got to see what you have. Like you have to see what you have. And, even if you have to give up a game early in a series to see what you have, I agreed with the situation to give him that opportunity. Now, if you're the Minnesota Wild, you've got to look. You're obviously looking short term. You want to win the series. That's number one. But there's another side of this too that you have to look at. Long term is like if you can get him games in the playoffs. I mean, the experience that he's going to feel, Dan, and the atmosphere, and leaning on a man in a corner where he, whether or not his family's going to get fed. If I get to the front of the net, he didn't feel that playing at Denver, and that is going to really help his development this summer. He's going to train harder. He's going to know more what to expect. And I got to be perfectly honest, Dan. The first 3 games, I didn't see a good enough reason to take him out of the lineup or keep him in. Like, I'm sure there were a lot of conversations with the coaching staff after games about whether we should make a move or not. And I didn't see enough reason really to bring him out other than after game 4 when he didn't, he looked a little bit lost in his own zone when we played at home. And I really do think playing at home in front of our fans, that first game, that would have been the second game. I just felt he felt pressure, maybe a little bit more. He hears the fans yelling, shoot. The first couple games, there wasn't as much pressure. You're playing in Vegas, and I know this as a young player myself. When I came in when I was 20 years old, too, I mean, it's a lot to handle. It just really, really is. So the way they've handled Zeev, and that doesn't mean that he's not going to play tomorrow, right? At all. And actually, as a matter of fact, I think there's a legitimate shot that he gets back into the lineup. I really do. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I've agreed with exactly the way that they've handled the Zeev situation.
If you go back a number of years, the Vikings had a head coach named Jerry Burns, and Jerry had a saying we've kind of adopted on this show: your big knockers got to knock. In other words, your star players ultimately have to lead the way at key moments. So as you look at the Wild situation now, down 3-2, is that what this comes down to? Where you can win 1 or 2 games if you get otherworldly performances from this team's big knockers, obviously starting with Kaprizov. Is it that? Or is it actually, no, you got to count on somebody else maybe coming out of nowhere to make a significant play?
Well, I mean, Dan, it's a little bit of both. You need your big knockers to knock for sure. But you need depth scoring. I mean, you need a little bit of both. And the Vegas Golden Knights are up 3-2. They're getting depth scoring. They've got 11 guys that have scored goals in this series. We have 6, and 2 of the guys have 10 of the 17 goals. So they're getting more depth scoring from their top guys, Stone and those guys. So you need a little bit of everything. And, we're in a scenario right now where, the coaching staff's going to look at different lineups and, we're in a must-win situation right now. And, you got to get your big knockers out there as much as you possibly can. And I've been thinking a little bit more about it, as far as lineups and what should be done. And obviously the coaching staff spent a lot of time looking at that. And you know what, I just, because of the scenario tomorrow, and I'm not sure that this is going to happen or not, but, and I know what John Hines has done it a few times. I'm not sure he's a big fan, but, 11-7 would fit for me tomorrow in that scenario. Just to try to get your, guys like Boldy and Kaprizov a little bit of extra ice time. I know they're already playing a lot already. But you might be able to sneak them out if you took Brazo out of the lineup and you maybe went with 7 defensemen with Merrill and Zeev. You might be able to free up Marco Rossi with Trenyan, and either Boldy or Kaprizov on that 4th line. Just sneak them up. Shift, and you might be able to get those 2 guys just a couple extra shifts with a higher end offensive player in Marco Rossi. And then you've got maybe Zeev on the power play to play the point. So you've got a defenseman out there, so you don't have to worry about giving up a shorthanded goal like we did there the other night. So just all kinds of different scenarios to play out. But again, you might look at that as a coach and say, if you overplay those guys too much in the third period, Boldy and Kaprizov, all of a sudden the game's on the line and they're out of gas because you've overplayed them. So, and again, if the Wild get one injury, you get one injury on the forward line, all of a sudden you're down to 10, and it's tough sledding. So there's all kinds of different scenarios, and it's so that's why it's always interesting going to the rink the next day after wins and losses. Just to see how the coaches think about things.
I like the way you think. I think those are interesting suggestions where you say, yeah, I mean, who knows whether a couple of extra shifts, even if they're short, the margin for error is close, right? But at this point, you do have to be prepared and willing to try pretty much anything, right? Because you can't lose another one.
Oh no, all hands are on deck. Look, you want to go down with your big boys, and you're going to go down with your big boys. You're going to play your top guys as much as you possibly can within reason, because obviously the money time is in the third period. So, but I don't know. I just know if we ended up losing in Game 6, and I thought I could have got my big guys out there a little bit more, especially the way they're playing. Man. I mean, they have no answer. I mean, Kirill's got 5 goals, 3 of them are on the power play, but like Matt Boldy's a creature right now. Like they have no answer for that kid. I mean, he's breaking down guys that have won Stanley Cups, 1,200 games. He broke down Pietrangelo on his goal like he was playing high school hockey here at the state of Minnesota. Like he blew around him like nothing, and just he's able to break down opponents left and right, and that's really just what makes that guy just special. And the other thing I love about this Matt Boldy too, Dan, is like he everyone talks about Kirill, and he's a superstar. We all know that. But Matt Boldy he ain't taking a backseat to Kirill Kaprizov. But that's what I love. I'm around here too. Don't forget about me. And that's how those 2 guys are going to push this organization to the next level, because they're going to push each other.
I would like nothing more for this team to figure out a way to win this series, to get to another round and maybe another round, and then we could have more conversations like this, because Gargi and I have talked about this a bunch. The beauty of the Timberwolves run last year through much of May was this. You could have people on to talk strategy, to talk about counter moves, chess moves, how do you counter what they did. It's the way you'd like to think it should be every year, right? And it is in some cities where even if you don't win a cup or even if you don't win an NBA title, there's series, one after the other, and you keep playing fun for the fans, obviously gives us a lot more material, gives you stuff to bounce off of, too.
I enjoy it. Obviously, I was a coach, too, so there's...
Yep.
There's a lot of things that go into it, and I'm telling you, the coaches down there, they do not take these decisions lightly. I mean, they're spending hours and hours and hours talking about lineups and scenarios and potential situations. So they spend a ton of time working on it. Again, it doesn't always work out, but the time is put in by these coaches, and it is a fascinating situation that I enjoy as well too, Dan.
Thanks for the insight, my friend. We'll be in touch as always. Thank you, Wes.
You got it. See you, boys.
Appreciate you. Wes Walz giving us some good stuff to think about as the Wild prepare for game number 6, and there's no margin for error remaining at this point, as we well know. I will react to a couple of the things that Wes had to say. Actually, Johnny Athletic, do we still think he's going to be early in the 4?
He will be next.
Oh, he's coming up next. Some interesting texts have come in regarding the basketball etiquette question that is local, St. Louis Park related, which I will save for a little bit later. We'll get Johnny's reaction to the nonsense that played out in Indianapolis yesterday or last night as well. And he will set the table for the Wolves' opportunity to end this nonsense and not have to worry about relatives coming on the court at Target Center in a couple of days. Just knock the Lakers out right now.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.